The Dancing with Depression podcast is brought to you by CAS-CM, where CM stands for Content Matters, because content brings people together. Have you ever been hypnotized? Most people immediately answer no. But what if I asked you this instead? Have you ever driven somewhere familiar and suddenly realized you arrived, but barely remember the drive? Or become so absorbed in a movie, a book, or even scrolling social media that you completely tuned out everything happening around you? If so, you've already experienced something that shares similarities with the focused state often associated with hypnosis. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to ask something of you. Ever have an animal shelter ask you to open your heart and consider adopting a pet? Or a charity asking you to open your wallet and donate? Today, I'm simply going to ask you, open your mind. Because sometimes what we think something is, it actually isn't. And in the process, we may overlook something that could have helped us, taught us something, or challenge a belief we formed long ago. To be clear, I'm not suggesting hypnosis is for everyone. But I do think it's fair to say that for many people, including myself, it may have been misrepresented by the way we were first introduced to it. Stage shows, entertainment, and popular culture have shaped a lot of our perceptions. Yet, as I've learned through mental health conversations, healing doesn't look the same for everyone. Different people connect with different tools, approaches, and guides. Today's conversation isn't about convincing anyone what to believe. It's simply an opportunity to hear one person's experience and explore a topic that many of us may have already formed an opinion about without ever taking a closer look. Welcome to the Dancing with Depression podcast. I'm your host, Adam Turner. Today, I'm joined by Lisa Shook, a board-certified hypnotist, certified hypnosis instructor, certified 5-path hypnotherapist, and someone whose personal journey through trauma, anxiety, grief, survival, and healing completely reshaped the way she understood herself and the subconscious mind. In our conversation, we discuss stigma, trauma, emotional patterns, healing, and the role the subconscious mind may play in experiences many people silently struggle with every day. Whether hypnosis is something you believe in, question, or have never explored before, my hope is that this conversation creates a little more curiosity, a little less judgment, and perhaps opens the door to a perspective you hadn't considered before. Lisa, it is great to have you, and I'm excited to talk because, we get an opportunity. You bring a unique perspective, both from a personal experience and the work you're doing today, helping people navigate things like anxiety, panic, and trauma. But before we get into the work that you're doing today, I'd love to start with you, your experience, and what's shaped you along the way.
Thank you for that question. I had so many things pop into my mind all at the same time. And, I thought it was interesting how when we met and we had the connection talking about foster parents, and I shared that I was adopted, but my parents, they were foster parents while I was growing up. But in relation to me finding hypnosis, prior to hypnosis, I owned 2 businesses, but I was also learning about energy work. So I was getting into alternative kinds of healing processes, so to speak. And I was very stressed out. So I think life from growing up, having a feeling of not belonging and having to create my own belonging, and then tragedy. I've had a lot of experience of great loss, death. It brought me to hypnosis over the years.
Yeah, that can absolutely, you know, when you're searching for something, sometimes it shows up in unique ways, right? And I think one of the other things that is important to know, especially about our connection, because as I was mentioning to you, there are several ways that I come across folks. Ours was probably one of the most organic experiences. As you mentioned, you run business and I consult and help folks with their businesses in a marketing component. And so we were connected that way, right, initially. And I, as you mentioned, not a typical call, but somehow on our very first call, we started talking about, different things. And I got off the phone with you and just had to learn more and ask about, an opportunity to talk more. So that being said, the connection that we had was one of those kind of undeniable, really organic and genuine and felt like it was an unfinished conversation. And you talked about, some of the experiences earlier on, and without necessarily going into great detail, if that's not where you want to go, can you shed some light on maybe just some high level experiences that you were referring to?
Oh, yes. I left home at 15 years old. So that was a definite highlight of my life. I hitchhiked from Seattle all the way down to Florida, became a teenage mother. That's another big one. And just finding out that I'm an entrepreneur. Although I worked for a couple companies with some longevity, you know, 10, 12 years at a time. So I'm very loyal, but I ultimately realized I'm an entrepreneur and started out on my own. So that's another big one. When you start your own business, you really have to dig deep. You find out who you really are, and it can crush you, but it makes you grow and you learn so much about yourself. And I imagine, kind of like you with starting a podcast, it can be really scary to just do something different, you know?
For sure. There are moments where I say the word podcast and in my head I chuckle because I'm like, It was never on my radar." I have to imagine, in a much different scale, hitchhiking from Seattle to Florida. I was thinking you were gonna say, like, from Seattle to, like, maybe a couple of states would have been impressive. That is cross country. So I feel like you could probably write something just on that, and it would be quite fascinating. And so when you look back on those and, you use the word kind of, can't remember if it was disconnected or kind of trying to create your own environment where you felt a part of and so on. I don't even honestly, I tell people I don't do the research on purpose because I wanna experience it in the way that they are. That blew my mind because there's so much danger and so on. Given those scenarios, and there were a few of them, like, are there moments inside of those experiences that you can recall where you're just like, you thought you made the wrong decision. You question everything you've ever thought of.
Oh,
Like, what
yes.
goes on? Because it's easier. It's not that it's easier, but there's a lot of nonchalant of what you just said. But my God, there's so many dynamics. What do you recall feeling in the moment when you're going through? Because that's a long time experience.
Yes, for sure. I've had many moments where I have not only felt that, "Oh, boy, I screwed up big time,"
Mm.
but moments where I felt like, "Oh, this is it. I'm dead. I'm gonna die. I'm really gonna die." Like,
Multiple moments, like,
multiple.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, one in particular where during the hitchhiking experience, picked up by someone who didn't speak English
Mm.
and being shown the trunk of their car.
Okay. That's scary.
Yeah, that's what I thought. "Oh, I'm going in the trunk of the car." No, I'm not. What actually happened was a much different experience. So, it turned out to be a really good experience and a very heartfelt connection with someone where we didn't even speak the same language.
I'm curious, and we don't have to go down the road, but were they thinking that they were helping you, like, cross a border or something?
They thought that's what I was trying to do
Okay.
because I was so young,
Okay.
but what happened was in my perception at that time is that they were doing something they were forced to do,
Gotcha.
but they didn't wanna do it, but they had little children, so I
Mm.
kind of got that part, and it just I had this intuitive knowing that they were doing something where they had to make money for their family, even
Gotcha.
though we couldn't communicate with the language.
Yep.
And yeah, it was kind of like tears and understanding. And they actually got me to the next point in my journey of traveling safely.
Gotcha. And so, at that time, how old are you at that time?
15.
15. And just again, without going into years or whatever, this was a while ago, we'll say. This
Oh, yeah,
many
decades.
okay, decades. Fair enough.
It's okay.
'Cause I make references in my childhood where I'm in the '80s and, you know, some people don't realize how much has changed. Not to say that at 15, anybody should be traveling, hitchhiking across country. No, not saying that. But different times, we didn't know as much then as we do now, and we
Still, it
didn't have
was
the same resources.
1981.
What's that?
It was 1981.
81. Good old '80s.
Yep, the good old 80s.
So, with regards to, again, your experiences and what feelings did you have when you talk about, like, disconnected? Where did you think now, looking back, that came from? Was it tied to anything specific? Was it just an environmental thing?
Well, when I was younger, the feeling of not belonging was so prevalent. It caused me to try to fit in with anywhere I could fit in, really. And that led me down a path of alcohol, trying drugs, getting in with the wrong crowd, so to speak. But now I can look back and see how I'm here for a reason. All these experiences have shaped me. So now I get to, you know, be on the other side of it and really help other people. A lot of times in my life and business, I've looked really put together on the outside, but yet on the inside, I'm freaking out, you know?
Yeah, I do know. And we have these conversations, and I say we, Bobby and I, a lot. I'm not going to say that I've gotten to a point where I'm like a great, like, chameleon where I can trick everybody in the room. But to your point, internally, right? And you can only maybe do it for so long without feeling a certain kind of way. And I'm
Right.
not talking about time-wise over an extended period of time. I'm talking about even within the experience itself. Like, it takes a lot of energy to present yourself a certain way when internally you're feeling a certain way, right? And we'll certainly talk more about that, but I definitely relate to that, no doubt about it. So I guess that kind of, takes me on to now what? Like, how have you been able to take those experiences and utilize them to help not only yourself move forward, but help others move forward? How did you get into that space in that transition? Because you went from, as you mentioned, hitchhiking, trying to fit in with drugs, alcohol, a lot of different things. And that's not I don't think that's uncommon. I think it's just
Right.
unique to everybody in how they're introduced to things.
Exactly.
So what do you credit or how do you transition from where you were to where you started your path to where you are now?
My real turning point was when my 27-year-old son died. It really shook me, and also it it really woke me up
Mm,
to even not just the physical reality of being a human on the planet, but the spiritual aspect of life, how precious our life is.
mm,
And that was kind of the real turning point there. I had been learning a little bit about Reiki, energy work. I owned 2 businesses at that time, and this was back in 2016.
mhm,
And through all of the support I had as well, but nobody really understands. I can't understand your journey, but what it did was help me to learn how to stop fighting
mm.
what's going on, how you're feeling, and to let yourself be present with what's happening and to get curious about your feelings. Why do you feel this way? What are you perceiving? What do you think is going to happen? Like, so that whole experience is how I found hypnosis.
That's incredible. I believe that, first and foremost, thank you for sharing. I know that's not easy. I know some people think that when a lot of time has passed, I've shared several different scenarios where it's different for everybody. But you said something that was so profound for me, which is to stop fighting. What I had to stop fighting, and I just want to add this, is I had to stop fighting trying to get other people to understand what I was feeling and focus more on how to deal with what I was feeling. And instead of looking for acceptance, and because you nailed it, like there can be similar experiences in the surface level, but how, when, how it affects us, like all of those things are different. And I think have certainly come across as an empathetic person and you want to comfort someone, but at the same time, you have the knowledge to know that sometimes just hearing and seeing them is what they need. Not trying to say, "Oh, I understand what you," because it's different,
Right.
you
It
know.
is. Yeah.
And I think that was a big connection that we had, which was we weren't trying to affirm that we understood. It was just, I see you, I hear you, and that's important, you know? Now, that ability to then, when somebody has come to the realization that they want to learn a little bit more about it, or they want to, maybe it's affecting them in other parts of their life and they want to better understand it. So when it comes to specifically the hypnosis, how did that come into the component? Because you were running businesses, you were successful before that, right? That was just
I
kind of an addition to. So how did that come into play into the grand scheme of things?
well, I was waking up in panic.
Mm, okay.
So that in and of itself was causing problems, not just in, obviously my ability to run business, but my relationship with my business partners,
Mm,
with my employees. So it was affecting everything in life, right? So even now, by the time people will come to me for hypnosis, it's had a major impact on life simply because most of the time people aren't thinking that, okay, I've got a challenge, let me go do hypnosis.
hmm
It's like I'm the last resort. So it's already caused some damage, whatever the challenge may be. And, at that point, not just the panic, but with alcohol, that impacts every part of your life as well, right? Trying to just stop the problem
hmm
or run away from the problem.
I think it was literally a wake up call that happened. So we'll talk a little bit because I definitely want to dive into kind of the stigma and what people think something is versus what it is, and you know how to get through all that. But before I jump into that, I want to just kind of talk a little bit more about the combination being an entrepreneur and not only being responsible for the business, your business partners and employees and so on and so forth, but how that is managed because you are still human, you still have things that you're dealing with. Was it something that over a period of time kind of you started to realize, or was it something that kind of smacked you in the face and was like, oh, this isn't going to be sustainable? Like, I've got to do something or something in between those two scenarios?
Yeah, it was a little bit of, okay, this has been going on, even though I was ignoring it pretty much. So then it was smacking me in the face.
Gotcha.
Well, I wanted to just mention, the reason we can't really know what someone else is going through is just because of we've all had different life experiences, you know. We're raised with different parents, and until we're about 7 years old, we're in that, you know, theta state, which is a state of hypnosis where we're like a sponge. So everything we're learning, seeing, hearing, experiencing, we create the meaning of these life experiences. So even siblings, something can happen to one and the other one is there as well, but they can describe this experience in two completely different ways.
And that plays into a long. I get to talk about me being a reader and how intelligent I am. That's a joke to my wife.
Yay.
But I don't remember what book or whatever, but there was a story about twin boys, and the boys grew up obviously together with their fathers mentioned, and one boy became a alcoholic and the other became a well-known neurosurgeon, and they were asked the same question in different scenario, like different meaning not next to each other. And when the son that was asked why or how he became an addict and so on, he said it was because of my father. Like, that's the environment I grew up in. And the same question was asked to the brother, and his response was actually the same, which was, it was because of my father. And one saw it as the only thing that they learn, and the other one saw it as, I don't want that. I want the opposite of that. And so, kind of tying into, you can have a same or similar scenario, but bring something very different out of it. And I think that's pretty aligned with that. So, with regards to the hypnosis, how or when did you see that that was something that you could offer professionally to help others?
Well, when I found it for myself,
How did you find it for yourself?
I was scrolling on the internet and an ad came up and I just had to laugh.
That crap doesn't work, Lisa. I've only been doing that for
Exactly.
20 years. Come on, nobody clicks on those stupid things.
Yeah. So I really, really, just like so many people, thought, well, I'm not going to let someone else control my mind. Nobody can control my mind. I have a strong mind.
Mhm.
That stuff only works on weak people.
So was it a little bit
And
of a challenge? Like, did you kind of say, oh, maybe I'll just challenge and see if this is real?
yeah,
Interesting.
that was more of my attitude because I'm kind of a rebel. And we all have
Yeah,
those,
we
those
kind of
parts of us.
established that about 12 minutes ago for sure.
So, and then once I experienced it, I was like, why are we not taught how to use our own mind?
Go back. I really, if you can, because I want to get into the now, but that's a fascinating. So your initial thought is, yeah, right, you're not going to be able to do this to me or whatever. But talk about why you're still willing. Like, what still leads you? Is it that a breaking point? Or is it just pure, I'm going to challenge it and see what happens
For
for you?
for me, for me, I understand now, of course, after going through training, how our body and brain is wired.
But what about before?
But before I didn't.
Okay.
So before I needed something to help me.
So you were at kind of a point where you tried
I
other
was at the
things.
Yes, I
Okay.
was at the breaking point. I'd already tried acupuncture. I became a Reiki master teacher, not for a profession, but just for myself and family. And I still was in a really, really critical point in my life where I couldn't, my body couldn't hold the amount of stress anymore. I was losing it.
Gotcha. Okay. And so then, if you can share a little bit more about what hypnosis actually is.
I love sharing this. I describe hypnosis as a state of heightened focused awareness. We go into naturally occurring states of hypnosis all the time. We just don't realize it. It can happen when you're watching a really good movie. It can happen when you're reading a really good book. And it can happen when you're just driving down the road, heading to your destination. You arrive at the destination and you have that thought, oh, wow, I don't even remember my drive, or I don't remember the last 5 miles. Have you ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah. And gonna be honest here, I'm curious, could it happen like when you're listening to a podcast? I'm being genuinely sincere. Is it kind of like you can kind of get, I don't know if the words would be like lost in what you're doing, but
Yes.
okay, because I feel like I've done
In
that.
the
Yeah, in the zone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
zone, you're in the flow state,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And when you know and learn, or you learn and you know how to harness that flow state, just imagine how effective you can be at whatever it is you're trying to do.
Mm. It's
If
powerful.
you know how to do that on purpose, intentionally.
Yeah, that's a powerful position for sure. And I will say that in our initial conversation, that was what really was interesting to me was how you described it. And I'm very candid, very open and honest. When I talk and share, I am not afraid to, present situations where I'm ignorant and before knowing, and people need to understand that ignorance is not a bad word. It's actually good recognition that you just don't know something. And
It is.
also,
I I'm the same.
yeah, and we've been presented things content wise, explanation wise, that may not align with truth. Meaning, if you think of, I'll use me as an example because that's always the safest way to do it. When I hear the word hypnosis, the first thing that I envision is a clock, a stopwatch going back and forth, and you're in this state of not being in control. And when you shared it, and I think you had mentioned at least a half a dozen times, you're in complete control the entire time. And so it allowed me to lean in and be like, wait, tell me more about this hypnosis that I'm not familiar with, because this is how I understood it to be. So not only did you do that, but then you were like, think of scenarios. And I was like, oh, I've experienced that before. That right there, to me, brings the guard down to learn more. And I think that is what I've always set out to do, is to let's get rid of what you think it is, and let's learn about what it actually is. Is that fair to say? Like, as far as like, do you still get the stigma, like, when you
I
stay?
still do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still huge, huge. People are more afraid of using hypnosis because of what they see on TV, in the movies, on a stage show. And it's really my mission to get out there and help people understand that this is one of the most natural, safest ways and fastest ways to help yourself resolve a problem, because, you know, these myths, they're just, that's what I call them, myths.
Hmm.
That it's mind control or that you're going to reveal secrets. No, 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 no. You remember everything you need to remember. You only say what you would normally say in any kind of conversation. It's like this could be, you know, hypnosis if we're focused and in the zone, in that flow. This could be what it's like, but it's almost like, when you're working with a professional hypnotist like myself, it can be very similar to a conversation, except your eyes are closed.
Hmm.
You might look like this with your body very relaxed, loose, and limp,
Hmm.
but you remember everything you need to remember. And what we do is we get past that conscious level of thinking into we're able to access our subconscious mind, which is the part of our mind where all our memories, habits, and beliefs reside. So really, I like to say this because when we do hypnosis, we're able to get past and resolve the BS, belief systems.
Oh man, you got me. Okay.
Not
I
Yeah, I
was
know.
getting ready to say, you can say it if you want.
Okay, bullshit.
Okay, thank
I
you.
like to s I like to say that. Yeah, no, not bullshit, but basically the bullshit, because they're belief systems that aren't serving us.
The belief systems, that is really powerful and probably going to spin us off into some other episodes or something,
For
because
sure.
I think I will say this. I believe that this is best served in servings. And what I mean by that is, because I'm fascinated, and a lot of it in that fascination has to do with, I like to tie things together, right? So I'll go there, back on track for a second. For somebody that is dealing with anxiety or panic attacks or something else, what does that introduction or process look like? Meaning the work that you do, just kind of high level.
So I always start with a free consultation because I wanna know more about a person.
Hmm.
But what we wanna do is stop. panic attacks first and foremost, right? And then we can get to where the problem started and resolve it. And then after that, what we've got to do is create some new beliefs.
The words identify it and fix it or whatever. When somebody is in the state that they feel like they've tried all of these other things, how do you break through that? Is it, I'm going to use some words, is it that they have to kind of go on some faith, not religious faith, but just faith of, I got to try something? Or like, because it's hard. It's hard to
It is.
comprehend when you're in it. So I don't know if there's a way to bridge that gap, or because you alluded to it's oftentimes kind of like the last resort type thing. And it sounds like, man, if there was a way to maybe bump this up a couple of notches and not have it be the last resort. So, can you shed a little bit more on that? Because it's easy to say after you've experienced success the way that you've helped people. But that person who's hearing this and it's like, yeah, everybody says that. Everybody, take this or do that. How is this different?
Ask yourself some questions. Do you want to continue to stay in this place, or what do you want your life to look like a month from now, or 6 months, or a year from now, or 5 years? And yes, everyone is different. And that's another thing is, people are scared. Like you said, when you're in it, you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, but there is. So, I have people that have written Google reviews, and yeah, there's that, we have the negativity bias, the thought that'll pop in and say, well, it worked for them, it's not going to work for me. But that's why I do the consultations, so that you really can find out that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you specifically,
Mhm.
because that's the beauty of hypnosis. Everyone is different. Your feelings, your beliefs could be different. Your experiences are different than someone else's. But that's why I say hypnosis is the most natural way for yourself
Mm. Yeah.
to heal or overcome a challenge,
Yeah.
because your subconscious mind holds the key. The information is there inside of you.
I like that. I think that people can relate to. It's kind of what started my journey in the podcast was going back, trying to identify what happened in the past. It wasn't that I was looking for the incident that led to my depression and anxiety, because I quickly learned it's not one single thing. It was a series of things, and it wasn't necessarily what I perceived a traumatic experience to be, but I also had to, like you said, put it into context where what you experience at one age versus another age can dictate how that affects you later on. Depend
Definitely.
Yeah, depending on the knowledge that you have, depending on previous experiences and so on. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I really wanted to, so folks that are listening that are saying, yeah, because what this is 100% not is a commercial. This is about understanding and cutting through the BS of what one thinks or says or whatever. So with that being said, I want to have you finish that thought about, how it shows up and what that process looks like. So after you've had, I guess this is a good question. Is the consultation in your experience, has it ever led to a scenario where not that you didn't think hypnosis would work, but that you didn't think the person was able to receive it or wanting to receive it, and you knew that it was not something that they were ready for?
That's a very good question. And that's part of one of the important reasons I do a very thorough consultation. because I want to make sure I can help someone 100%. I've got to be 100% confident I can help them. Otherwise, there may be something else they need to do first or could be more beneficial for them in their experience. And I want to go back. I'll answer this question to a statement that I hear frequently that time heals all wounds.
Mm.
It doesn't. And time isn't going to solve any problem either,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
So, to your question, there can be points where in someone's life where, like with alcohol, they may need to detox first.
Mm. Gotcha.
So, I have a series of questions that I ask, and I want to know people's history and things like that before I work with someone to make sure I can help them. So yeah, if someone may need to detox before doing hypnosis, then that can happen first. If someone has said, "Well, I'm only coming here because my spouse or partner said, I have to whatever stop smoking,
Mhm.
but I don't really want to."
Mhm.
You know, that doesn't mean I wouldn't help them or not or that they couldn't be successful. It just means, well, why don't you want to? Why don't you want to change?
Yeah.
So we get to dive a little deeper.
Along those lines, so and I'm gonna transition maybe into a little bit deeper insight, but why do you think, like, so many people feel stuck even when they're actively trying to work on themselves?
That's really good because they're using just the conscious mental energy, the willpower part, right? Our conscious mind, it's the state of mind we all live in at the waking state, but our conscious mind is really limited. So it's just running on this limited ability. And that's why it can get really frustrating. And even with just talk therapy, it can take a very long time to, resolve and change things
Mhm.
because we're using that limited ability, that conscious part. But yeah, hypnosis, you can get to the subconscious part of your mind. And that's the part of your mind that's recorded everything from being in the womb to who we are today, or, depending on your beliefs, even further.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, which is, like, how much of what we experience is happening at a subconscious level as opposed to a conscious level?
Our subconscious is running the show, whether we're aware of it or not. It's our default. And yeah, so that can also be why someone feels stuck when they're doing everything right. Even when it comes to weight loss, it's like, I know what I need to do. Why can't I do it? Or I'm doing all the things. Why isn't there change?
Man, I'm gonna say like, this is my opportunity to say what I scream this at the top of my lungs. Knowledge is power, right? Everybody, knowledge is power. No, it is power.
That's
It
true.
it is power, but if you don't utilize or implement what you know or practice what you know.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. Like I tell people all the time, like, we have more access to information than we've ever had. I mean, let's just be honest. We could all get a tattoo that says just Google it because we've done that. We've gotten to a point where, you can Google it and you can get an answer. So now you have the knowledge of how to do something. But to your point, I wrestle with this all the time. And especially in my, you know, now stage where it's like, I have a person in Bobby who loves me unconditionally. She's loved me in a way that I've never been loved because it's beyond what a parent can do. I hope everybody gets that opportunity, so on and so forth. I know not everybody does. That being said, I've come to learn over the past 10 years that she doesn't just say things to hear herself or to be right. She's trying to help, right? And so when she does this, she's giving me knowledge. But why the heck can't I do it? Why can't I go outside to get sunshine like she said? And when I've done it, it's helped. Why can't I do the movement, meaning not exercise or what, just go out for a walk, go, because it helps. Why can't I do it? Right? Now, there are some times that I can, but I still struggle. I talked about the frustration I had in the or I don't know if it's my subconscious or conscious mind, but when I was lying in bed and saying to myself, hey, dude, it's been 7 days. You need to take a shower. And when you share that in certain company, the people that don't understand are like, wow, that's disgusting. And the other people are like, we get it, man. We understand. We don't understand. We just understand that
Right.
we've experienced it as well, right? So the knowledge part is important, but what you're talking about ties it together because it gets the action of what you know what to do to actually be done in doing. That's where the light went on for me because I had had those experiences where I'm talking about in my mind, meaning I'm lying in bed. Conversations like, I love my parents. I love talking to them. Every time I talk to them, when I get off the phone, I feel better. I don't feel good right now, but I'm not going to call them. Why won't I call them? I just identified all of the positive things. What is holding me back? And I think that there could be a laundry list of things other than just calling a loved one that this would align with. Am I on to something or am I completely just going
For
off on a
sure.
Turner tangent?
That's exactly what I really appreciate you being open and sharing that. Because when you're at that point, whether it's with depression or anxiety or any challenge, when you can't do the thing you know you need to do, and it might seem illogical, why can't I do it? That's a great indication. That's a sign that there is something subconscious that you're just not aware of. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
It just means there's something deeper at that subconscious level that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. We might have just had a consultation. I don't know. We'll talk more about that after. So that part there, like, and you might have already kind of touched on it, but just to kind of provide some clarity, because I do tend to go off on tangents. Like, who would you say, would be a fit to talk with? Well, no, you know what? I want to go back a second because I think this is important to clarify. I want you to share a little bit more, real quick, about qualifications because I don't, regardless, in every experience that I've had, there's good, there's bad, and then there's, kind of misconceptions and whatever. So if and when somebody gets to a point where they want to consider and, just logistics or whatever, what are things that you would recommend they that person possesses, right? As far as certifications or training or whatever,
Do hypnosis or be a hypnotist.
as a client to seek help.
Yeah, being open and willing to follow instructions.
Okay. And then on the,
And it's okay to have that rebellious side.
okay.
Like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. That's okay.
And then
But the
the flip side
ability
to
to
that,
listen.
the flip side to that, I'm sorry, the flip side to that, as they're looking for, so when we talked about identifying or finding a therapist, right? Talk therapy and so on, there are certain things that I think you want to identify, but I feel like they're slightly different in the sense of there's similarities, but they're slightly maybe another level, meaning I wanted to be comfortable with the person. I wanted to make sure I could communicate effectively and stuff like that. But I want to go a little bit deeper because there is that stigma. So, are there people in the industry that maybe not as qualified? Like, I don't know how to present it.
Oh, and someone who's searching for a qualified professional hypnotist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at their training.
What training would they want to identify? What?
Well, like with my training and membership through the NGH, National Guild of Hypnotists, which is a worldwide hypnosis organization. So that's something that's well known, and finding out how maybe look at the Google reviews as well
Mhm.
and feel who you might, say, hey, this looks like someone who I feel comfortable with.
Gotcha.
Because yes, you might feel nervous, you might feel scared and have those hesitations. Know that all of that is normal, right? You're about to do something new, or maybe you've done it before and you just want to find somebody else. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But those things would be most important, to look at the training and look at Google reviews and identify someone you think you'll feel comfortable with.
And
You
I
don't
think,
have to feel perfectly at ease,
yeah.
but, someone you think you can trust. And I think by the consultation, like when I provide a consultation, a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, you put me at ease. I felt so comfortable with you.
And I was literally just going to say, like, the consultation works both ways. It's an opportunity for someone like me to kind of see how we connect as well. And that should be utilized. So, because there does have to be a comfort level. It doesn't have to be immediate. It doesn't have to be 100%. But the fact that someone's seeking it or is interested in learning more about it, that's a great time to work both ways. You seeing if they're
Nice.
a fit, and then vice versa, that they're comfortable, because you've alluded to, you know, you're going to be in control, but you also don't want to be fighting the process, right? Like, you
You don't
know,
want to feel judged either,
yeah,
right?
yep, yep,
That's a big one.
yeah.
I mean, we have enough of that in society already, and that's where half our problems start.
Uh, That's yes.
I'm supposed to be, at this level of success by this age, or, I should be doing this, or I should look like that, or whatever. And yeah, yeah. So
For sure. Again, I go off on tangents on those too. So, as and I don't want to, but we've got to always at some point, as we start to kind of like wrap up, I want to bring this back because we've covered a lot and a lot of great insight, great information. But for the person that's listening, if someone listening feels stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected right now, what would you want them to hear?
I would want them to hear that they are not alone, and that you can change. This will pass. You're not alone. Never give up.
Hmm.
Because there's something interesting that most people don't know, especially when it comes to like depression. There can be healthy levels of depression. It's your sort of body's guardian saying, hey, it's nature's way of saying, hey, you need a rest. What you're doing isn't working. Take a break.
And I can candidly tell you that if you said that to me, maybe even as 2 years ago, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Right. However, not just through my personal experiences, but because I have had the privilege and honor to talk to other people, and again, a big part of the podcast, I was able to better understand what that meant. And specifically, the body talks to us.
Body speaks.
Yeah. And the two incidents that just scream to me is the conversation that I had with Katie and her journey, where her body was
Mm.
telling her things. And Allison's stands out big time to me because on paper, she's got everything that everybody thinks they want. And in
Yeah.
reality, internally, she's like, I'm miserable. And my body is telling me that, but people aren't, they're not helping. So that resonates big time to me, and I'm glad that you bring that up because you're right. I think that most people aren't aware of that. And through your experiences personally and learning about other people's, that helps you better understand what that means. Because it sounds weird when you use the words, they seem like they're opposites, but healthy depression. What? Uh,
Right. It sounds crazy.
yeah, but
And
it makes but I get it, and I think that that's the game here is to better understand because it's not going to come just from what I experienced or just what you experienced. It's going to come from experiences that we get from hearing them. So that's helpful. Now, I didn't prepare you for this, but I do offer this. If at this time you want, entirely up to you, you can ask me a question. You can ask me any question you want, but only one. Because I made the mistake
okay.
with John to ask two, and he asked me what my best dance move was. And I was like, I knew I should have let him only have one. And that's an episode that just got released, so whatever. But one question, anything you want, if you want, fire away.
Okay. And this is related to this work. I would like to ask something funny and interesting, but I think this is good for everyone. What you talked about bridging the gap between where someone's at and being open, to trying hypnosis. What would I'm curious to know for you, what would bridge the gap for you from being in the place that you were?
I think I kind of experienced it through our conversations. I think we've spoke maybe a total of 3 times. One of them was 98%, business, the first, conversation. But there were certain things that you said that resonated. And my example of feeling like I try to be careful with the words that I choose just because I don't want the stigma associated, but not an out of body experience per se, but the literal, and people can't see me, but I'm literally shaking my hands in my body. Like I'm 2 rooms away in my home office from my bedroom. And I just so clearly remember lying there. And it wasn't just one time, it was multiple times where I just wrestled with myself. Why can't I do what my mind is saying to do? And my experiences have all been positive around it. I couldn't grasp that. It frustrated me. And I'm sure that someone more educated in the field could give a clinical explanation and so on. But there was conversations and the way that you position things that just made sense to me. And so I guess to answer the question, it was my personal frustration tied to a potential. I feel like the outcome is very attainable. Like I don't feel like it's me saying, I joked about this, like when people will like ask for help or something, or give me a sign. That's it. The whole give me a sign. And some of their requests are just plain ridiculous, right? I don't think I'm asking for anything ridiculous. I don't think I'm thinking that calling my parents is a ridiculous thing or, whatever. So I just think I was open to it. I feel like it was an experience that I felt was obtainable and that what I had been doing wasn't getting me there. And I think the final thing for me is medication for me is still a very tricky subject. And I don't mean it in a negative or positive way. It just means that it's confusing to me. I know there's science behind it and whatever, but at the end of the day, because we're all different, our bodies react differently.
Exactly.
Our ability to communicate exactly I didn't know how to I didn't know how to describe feelings I had 2 years ago. I literally talk about this. I had to do a Google search because Bobby would ask me questions like, how to describe something? And I was like, she would give me examples. I'm like, what does that even feel like? You know? So I feel like I've gotten to a point where I understand things a little better and I'm more open to things. Not open in the sense of, "No, I'm just going to try it to try it." Open in the sense of, I can see how it could help in where I was missing things before. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay. At
And
least to you, and
that's
that's all.
very helpful.
Okay.
You answered it very, very thoroughly. And yeah, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I had something I wanted to share for your audience
Oh,
or whoever's listening that can be helpful. Just like if you're experiencing anxiety, depression, sometimes the not sometimes, the words we say to ourselves, like our body speaks, but our body listens as well
mm,
and believes what we tell ourselves. So if you tell yourself or you talk about anxiety saying, my anxiety,
mm.
my depression, what if you started saying that anxiety or that depression?
I love that.
That might be a very small way, but can have a big positive impact on how you start feeling differently.
I love that for so many different reasons. Mainly because it's something doable. You start with something like that and get an opportunity to experience success. And this is something that I've talked about when I went to group therapy. There were a lot of things that were foreign to me in what they were talking about, but I had the space and it was like, why not try it? Right? Let's try this breathing thing that they're talking about. And then it helped. And I was like, oh, wait a second. What else did they recommend that is not over the top? And oh, journaling? How is writing my stuff down? Oh, this released a lot of tension. This is one of those things I feel is that because I'm a big believer, I've referenced the book Hung by the Tongue, and I feel like, what we say manifests good and bad.
Mhm.
Oh, that's what it was, and I'm sorry. I was referring to Hung by the Tongue, and it was like, you
Oh,
can't just say, I wanna get the Powerball numbers. I wanna get the Powerball numbers," right? There's some, stuff to that. But I love that. To change the possession of the anxiety and just it's that anxiety and see what that does. And I'm gonna ask that folks that try that, please reach out. Let us know. You know, Send me an email at dancingwithdepression@yahoo.com and visit Lisa some opportunities if they want to check you out. What's the website that they can go to?
LisaShookHypnosis.com. LISASHOOKHYPNOSIS.
Wow. Can I buy a vowel? And I will have that where there's a link so people can also go there as well. thank you so much. I appreciate not just that you showed up, but the way you showed up. It is a great conversation. I know your honesty and perspective made this something that people can truly connect with. I know I did. And um, I'm honest with people. Like, I joke, like, if one person can be helped, it's okay if it's me. I mean, I'm not
That's right.
selfish, but I'm okay with it. So I will put that information out there. Thank you again. And I'll keep you updated as folks change and shift that my to that. And
I would love that.
yeah,
I would really love that. Yes.
absolutely.
Dream big. Use your imagination.
Awesome.
Subconscious speaks the language of imagination. So be like a kid, daydream positive things, what you want.
Love it. Thank you so much, Lisa. Lisa shared how, after experiencing tremendous loss, stress, and panic in her own life, she reached a point where what she had been doing simply wasn't working anymore. What stood out to me wasn't necessarily hypnosis itself. It was her willingness to become curious, to stop fighting what she was feeling, and to ask a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but what might I not understand yet? Stigma often grows in the space between assumption and understanding. Many of our strongest opinions are formed long before we've had any direct experience. And a tool doesn't need to work for everyone to have real value for someone. Throughout this conversation, Lisa talked about the role our subconscious mind may play in the beliefs, habits, and patterns that shape our lives, often without us even realizing it. Whether hypnosis resonates with you or not, I think there's something powerful in that idea, that beneath the struggle, there may be more to the story, and that growth can begin the moment we're willing to look a little deeper. So wherever you stand on today's topic, I hope this conversation encourages you to replace certainty with curiosity, to ask a few more questions, to make fewer assumptions, and to remain open to the possibility that help can come from places you never expected. And when it comes to mental health and discrediting stigmas, remember to take the lead. Ever heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, same applies here. It takes an awesome audience like you to help get this message in front of someone who needs to hear they're not alone. That's why I ask for your continued support. Whether you like, share, follow, or leave a review, and if so inclined, can donate, it all helps more than you know. If something resonated, pass it along. You never know who needs it. Want to connect? Email me anytime. dancingwithdepression@yahoo.com. And remember, when it comes to depression, take the lead. Content and safety notice. Dancing with Depression may include discussions of suicide, self-harm, trauma, and emotional distress. Listeners' discretion advised. This podcast shares personal experiences and is not a substitute for professional mental health care. If you need immediate support, call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For non-crisis help and resources, contact NAMI at 1-800-950-6264.